One of the things that I am wondering about or thinking about as we head into the Chinese Grand Prix today is who will be leading by the end of turn 1 or at least by the end of lap 1. And the only reason why this is something that maybe one can think about in 2026 is because at least it has become clear coming from Australia and also during the sprint race in China that Ferrari seems to have a thing of being able to actually start well and take the lead either during lap 1 or at least by the end of turn 1. Charles Leclerc did it in Australia and Lewis Hamilton did it during the sprint race in China. And that's why maybe one can then ask who will be the person leading the race or leading turn 1 during the Chinese Grand Prix. And this is something that is, informed by the realization that the Ferrari team actually qualified in second row, meaning they are starting behind the Mercedes. And this is because Kimi Antonelli took the pole position, P2 was George Russell, Hamilton is starting in P3, and Charles Leclerc in P4. That already sets up the race or the start of the race to a very interesting kind of a situation because two Ferraris behind the Mercedes might end up being very tasty and also very interesting as we head into turn 1, but also during the entire of the first lap. We saw Hamilton passing George Russell at a corner that probably many people would not have expected. And maybe that's something that will also happen today. All the Ferraris will actually end up being 1-2 by the end of the first lap, which in itself would be a very interesting situation because we know Mercedes are actually faster, they have a better engine than the Ferraris. Maybe with Ferrari being in front, they can then maybe try to hold the Mercedes and ensure that they can play the team game to ensure that they probably can secure a win today or at least have a double podium by the end of the race. Well, of course, that will be very interesting. It will depend on quite a number of other things because given the race is almost 60 laps, it is expected that there will be safety cars or at least virtual safety cars, and that would also throw a spanner into the works and depends on how teams react to those evolving situations or when such opportunities arise. For me, I hold the view that Lewis Hamilton will be taking the lead either by the end of turn 1 or by the end of the first lap. And I would want to know who you think will be doing the same, whether you think, Charles Leclerc will be in front, whether Kimi and George will also hold positions, or even whether Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, who are starting in that row, will be able to replug themselves into the lead of the race. Leave a comment below with your prediction of who will be leading the race in turn 1 or by the end of the first lap. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not, and I'm going to see you in my next video.